Hello everyone, today's poem is 被风击鼓 by 佚名 or by Anonymous, a very famous poetry about war from the Book of Songs, from the Bei state. This poem is one of the very few famous poetry, war poetry, but finally treated as a love poetry by today's people. We had one of these poems, Shang, which was written in the Han dynasty. So basically that poem, the Shang, the poem, is the oath to the love, to the marriage treated by today's people. But actually it is a oath, a promise between soldiers. It basically means to die together. We are brothers. We are band of brothers. We watch each other's back and we live together. We die together. Basically, that's the whole poem is the oath, the promise. And this poem is quite similar, the 击鼓, but it's not only limited on the oath or the promise, it's everything. It described all aspects of a war and how a soldier went through the wars with his oath to his brothers. In the Book of Songs, the war poetry actually was limited to very few physical locations or regions, because in the Zhou dynasty, especially the first half of the Zhou dynasty, the West Zhou dynasty, the conqueror, the commander, the ruler was Zhou people. So the conquering was always by the Zhou people or Zhou troops, and thus the poetry about war was always written or write about the Zhou troops. So basically, from it was proved by today's archaeology, Zhou has 3 troops that time. Zhou Liu Shi, the 6 troops of Zhou, or the West troops, Xi Liu Shi, was located in its capital area, which is quite near to Xi'an city today. And the other troops was located in Luoyang, which is the sort of the east capital to Zhou dynasty. And the 3rd troops was located in this area, the Bei state, Yong state, and Wei state. This 3 state basically is the formal, the capital of the formal dynasty, the Yin dynasty, and that's the main reason the Zhou people put troops, heavy troops, in this area to guard their formal enemies. The troops located in this area, so-called Yin Ba Shi. Yin refers to the formal dynasty or the place name. Ba Shi means 8 troops. There are roughly 10,000 people in one troop. So there's roughly 80,000 soldiers located in this area. And this is a quite powerful army in that time. Okay, the title 击鼓 means to strike the drum. Drum is the signaling system in the ancient war in China. It means to march forward, to rush to the enemies. So when the general struck the drum, every soldier should march forward. On the contrary, when the general struck the gong, mingjin, it means to withdraw, to get back. So with the drum and gong, a general can command thousands, 10,000 soldiers in the field. Now let's look at this poem with 5 paragraphs. Each paragraph writing different things with different wordings. So it looks much more complicated than those poetry in the Zhou Wind and Shao Wind. And I do believe this is because at the very beginning of the Zhou dynasty, the Zhou people is a little bit underdeveloped in the cultural, in the civilizations levels compared to the formal dynasty, compared to the Yin people. And the poetry written in this place, Bei state, Yong state, and Wei state, they are basically the majority of people. They are all the formal Yin capitals people. They are with a much more developed culture and civilizations, and that's why they can write more complicated poetry and with much more subtle feelings. Now let's look at the poem, the first paragraph. 击鼓齐堂，踊跃用兵，土国城曹，我独南行。击鼓 struck the drum. It sounds very loudly. 堂 means the sounding very loudly. 踊跃用兵，用兵 actually means the soldier practice, exercise. It's a preparation for a war. 踊跃 is sort of the 双生词, the double sounding words. It appears so many in the Chinese language. The initial is same, just feel it, 咏乐. The initial was both E or the English character Y. So with the same initials, the words was so-called 双生词. It's make the reading more sounding, and it's normally depict the status of something. So here, the 踊跃, it depict the status of the soldier exercise, though they exercise very actively, proactively, or very hardly. 土国城曹, some people was constructing the city wall. Some people was building the city of Cao. 土 and 城 was used as a word here to means to constructing something with the earth. 城 means building the city. It's not the noun. Cao is the name of that city they are building. 我独南行. I'm alone goes to the south. So the south in the Book of Songs time always means something. It's a place to be conquered. So it's a place with a lot of wars. So here in the first paragraph, it mentioned the strum. So with that striking the strums, everybody realized immediately there was about a war will happen very soon, and the soldiers exercise hardly. And then the third sentence means some people was building the city, some people was building the city walls. That's also one of the common duties for the Irish people. So in the Zhou dynasty, the Irish people has two major duties. First thing first, to do some of the public service for the city, for the kings. The second, of course, to enroll in the army, to go to the battlefield. So the first paragraph actually is describing the very normal life of a normal people. But the little bit special is the duty normally was not so much, and people will still enjoy a little bit of his own life with his own families. But with the first paragraph, we can feel that it's a quite busy situation, and there could be some of the things urgent or wars happened very soon, and the last sentence make the everything change to a negative feelings. I'm alone, so that's negative. I'm going to the south, that's double negative, because go to the south means you are going to some of the very wild place, the boundary place, frontiers. There normally that only was associated with war and death. The story continued in the second paragraph. 从孙子冢平陈于宋. I'm following the Lord Sun Zhong to defeat the state Chen and state Song. 从 follow. Sun is the family name. Zhong is his given name. Zi, in the middle, it means that's the term for the noble person. Of course, the generals was always noble people. 平陈于宋. So in the surface, it means to settle the dispute between the state Chen and state Song. But actually, in the real sense, it's sort of the conquering the two states and let them to stay down and stay calm. 不我已归，忧心有冲。不我已归. He don't let me go home. 归 is always going home. 忧心有终. I'm so worried inside. 忧心 worried. 有终 inside. So the second paragraph actually brings us into the war it depicts and make the worrying, the sad feelings much more intense. 原居原处，原上骑马. 原 means where. Where could I live with? Where could I stay with? 居 the original meaning means live in the house, but of course here he lives in the soldiers' camp, but still a okay place. 处 means stay, so it refers to another state. There's no camp, but it's still okay. It's still alive. 原居原处. And here it depicts the life of a soldier. He don't know where he could stay, where he could live with. 原上骑马. Where I lost my horse, or he lost his horse. So here it refers to all the soldiers, not only specially refer to the writer himself. So where the soldiers could live with, where the soldiers could stay with, where the soldier lost his horses. So it lost horses quite strange, but let's have a second thought. So in the Zhou army, the basic or the most important troops is the chariot with horses, and then followed with a lot of the soldiers on his feet. So the chariot, the soldiers on the chariot, basically they are the noble peoples or the senior citizens in town, and it accounts roughly 10% or 20% of the total troops. So they are the elite, or they are the most important soldiers. So here, with the horse lost it, that person most probably was lost as well, lost his life, or lost somewhere. So here, with the second thought, the writer actually is depicting the life of soldiers. He don't know where he could stay with, where he could live with, and even he don't know where he might lost his life. Lost his horses is an indirect way of saying the soldiers lost his life as well. We see it much more clearly in this following two sentences. 予以求之，于林之下. Where could I find it? It means the horses in the surface. 于林之下, the answer is at the place under the woods. So 林 and the woods is another very indirect way of saying the cemetery. We know the Confucius, his cemetery was in his hometown, Qufu, and the cemetery of the Kong family since the Confucius to very recent time. The cemetery was named as Konglin, the woods of the Kong family. Of course, all the tombs was under the woods planted in that cemetery. So 榆林之下, under the woods, in this poem, it refers to the cemetery of the dead soldiers in the war. So the whole third paragraph actually depicts the life status of the soldiers in the war. They went from one place to the other place from time to time. They lead a very hard life, and from time to time, someone died, someone lost his horses, and for his brotherhood, for his families, I mean the died soldiers, where to find the horse or where to find the cemeteries, the dead soldiers, go to the woods at the mountain's foot, 榆林之下, under the woods. With three questions, with one answers, we feel the uncertainty of the fate of the soldiers, and the final fate is very negative and affirmative. Under the woods, 榆林之下, buried under the woods. Now the most famous wordings appeared in the fourth paragraph. 生死契阔，与子成说，执子之手，与子偕老. So there's so many arguments about this paragraph, and one of the best explanations I thought is like this. The sequence of the sentences in the fourth paragraph was reversed to make the sounding, to make the rhythm more powerful and more strong. The right sequence should be 执子之手，与子成说。So this is a process to make the oaths, to make the covenant. I take your hands and I make the oath, make the promise with you. 说 is the oath, 成说 is to complete the oath, to make the oath together. And the second part actually is the content of that oath. 生死契库，与子偕老。So the content of the oath means no matter we still alive or dead, or no matter we stay together or far apart. 契 means stay together very closely. 阔 means separated far apart. 与子偕老, I would retire with you together. 偕 means together, the two people together. 老 could be interpreted in two ways. First, retire from the troops. So in the Zhou dynasty, the duty to serve in the army retired in the age of 60. So it means let's stay together, let's help each other, let's guard each other as far as we stay in the army, and let's retire from this army together. The other meaning is dead, so that's much more strong feelings. That I would go to the death together with you, and that's more, I think, more closely or precisely to this point, because the band of brothers, the meaning, no matter for which country, for the today's people or the Asian people, it means the life and death together. For today's people, the sentences in the fourth paragraph is just a promise to the marriage, an oath to the love. The boy take the hands of the girls, and both the couple says, I would stay with you, and getting older and older together. The last paragraph is the saddest paragraph in this poem. There's also many interpretations for this paragraph. The most popular interpretation is like this: 余皆阔兮，不我活兮. So I stand heavily, for we are separated for distance, and we cannot meet each other again. 皆 means sign, 阔 still it means separated apart with long distance. 不我活, 活 is a borrowed word, means to reunion, to re-encounter. So the first two sentences means I stand about, we two are parted far, far away, and we can never meet each other again. 余皆寻兮，不我信兮. I signed heavily, for we are far, far from. 不我信兮, I cannot be faithful to my oath, to my covenant. So this is a very general interpretation, but it doesn't make the full sense per the whole poetry. So my interpretation is because I know the Shanxi dialect, or the dialect of the Zhou people. 不我活兮 is like 我不活兮. So this is a very ordinary oral sentence in the countryside in Shanxi dialect, like 我不活人了，我不活人了. So which means I won't live my life any longer. 活人 means 活 is a verb to live. 人 refers to myself. 我不活人. So with this interpretation, the whole paragraph actually will make the full sense, I believe. 于嗟阔兮，我不活兮. I'm sighing heavily, we two parted far, far away. I don't want to live my life anymore. I don't want to live. So the parted is two things. Could be parted, both of the two still alive, but could be parted that refers the other guy has died. So let's review the oath. We died together. So that's the this sentence with this interpretation fully correspond to their oath, because the other part, his brother, has died. So I won't live alone. I won't live my life. 于嗟寻兮，不我信兮. 寻 means died, die for the people. So it's a same sound word, a borrowed word with 寻. So I signed, you contribute your life to the state, to the Bei state. I sign heavily. 我不我信兮. So I'm not loyal for anymore. Why this guy don't feel he's loyal for? Because he violated the oath between his brothers. Because that guy has sacrificed his life to the state. He died. But the person who wrote this poem is still alive. So with this impression, the last paragraph actually is so sad, because the writer, the poet, feels the extremely sad feelings, and he even don't know to die or not to die for his rest of his life, or for now. So let's review the last paragraph again. I signed very heavily for your death. I don't want to live my life anymore, because your death remind me of the oath we two made to each other. We want to die together. 于嗟寻兮，不我信兮. I signed heavily. You sacrifice your life to the state. I signed heavily. But for now, I'm still alive here. I sign heavily, which means I still live. I'm still alive now. I'm not loyal to our oath anymore. What a sadness. Okay. So when you're reading the Tang poetry, there's so many 边塞诗 the frontier and the fortress poetry, they all deeply rooted in the war poetry from the Book of Songs time. So there's a few of the war poetry was bragging to the wars or to praise the wars, and most of the poetry about war describe the sadness, feelings of the majority of the soldiers. Even this guy was a middle or junior noble person. And of course, thinking about home, the brotherhood is always the two major subjects appeared in the poetry about wars. Okay, that's for today, and bye bye.